Yes, hello everyone. Welcome back to another show here on Cluiche. I was about to say a weekend review, but it's a weekend preview. Joined by Grace Cullen. Grace, All Ireland final weekend has hit us. Are you buzzing?
Absolutely buzzing. It's just like the best week of the year, I think, for me anyway. So very excited.
And we have Brian here. Brian, always on the show. He says a midweek preview podcast by the amazing Shane. Thank you very much, Brian. Back on again. Peter says massive interest in this final. There certainly is huge interest in this final. Brian also says, well, Kerry are favourites. Donegal have the stronger starting 15 and stronger bench to make an impact. Well, you've led me on nicely there, Brian. Grace. Let's dive right in. The All-Ireland Senior Football Championship final of 2025. Donegal against Kerry. A repeat of the 2014 All-Ireland final, which was Jim McGuinness's last match. That was a game that Kerry shaded. And we are talking about the narrative of this game coming in. I mean, when you're talking about motivation from either side, you've got Donegal and their perspective. The last time Jim McGuinness was Donegal manager, his last game in the hot seat was a loss to Kerry in that 2014 final. When Jack O'Connor had his last term as Kerry manager, Kerry went out in the All-Ireland quarter-final stage to Donegal in 2012 and to Jim McGuinness as well. And that proved to be Jack O'Connor's last game before Kerry then rehired him after replacing Peter Keane. So when you talk about storylines, the why for both teams has a little bit more of an extra incentive. And when you look at the two teams that have come through the course of the year, I think in the grand scheme of things, Donegal and Kerry have revealed themselves as, in my opinion, the two best teams in the country this year. I don't think there's anybody begrudgingly as a dub. I don't think we're in the top two anymore. I think these two are the two best in Ireland this year.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think they've definitely shown their colours, shown their strength, shown their depth of their panel. The both sides have just been incredible. And it's funny to think that neither of them topped their group in the All-Ireland group stages either, and they're both the finalists, so, and had really strong semi-final performances. So yeah, I think we couldn't have picked a better final, to be honest. Glad the Dubs aren't in it. Sorry, Seamus.
That's it. We don't even have Leinster anymore now. You took that away from us.
That was also on Louth. We won't go into that today.
Yeah, no, I'll just ask you that, like, as a little woman yourself, like the atmosphere in the camp, is it still buzzing after the Leinster win? And
oh my God, yeah. Like, I mean, what are we, like 2 months on now? And I still wake up in the morning thinking, oh my God, did that even happen? It was like a dream. It's so good. And even seeing, like, Gavin Davin and Peter Dooley getting appointed yesterday as the new lead managers, Jared Brennan going out, and everything just revolved with the new stadium coming around. I just think it was just the perfect time. I think them lads have had such a strong last 5 years under Mickey Hart and Gavin, and then under Jared Brennan and his team, and they just deserve something to come out of it. We retained Division 2, which was unreal, and then just to get the trophy and the homecoming and Leinster champion title, it's huge. It's great, and it's even for the supporters, for the young kids, for club championships, for underage. Like, it's a huge impact and such. I know we say we're a small county and we're not really population wise, but we are the wee county. We're always going to be known as that. So it's great. It's going to be brought into next year as well, and into our club championships. But yeah, it's been great. It's been so fun.
it certainly has. And like, I remember even going up, I was involved with the Puck Furler last year, and we had the meeting up there in the Louth Centre of Excellence, and the facilities are ridiculous. Like, they're so good. And I noticed it as well when Mickey Hart left. To be honest, I had seen examples of counties that would get a manager, make some strides, then the manager leaves and it all falls apart. Like Limerick is an example with Billy Lee when he left, back-to-back relegations to Division 4. Leitrim made some progress with Terry Hyland. He left back to Division 4 again. Carlow made progress with Turlock O'Brien. He leaves back down to Division 4. And I was thinking when Mickey left, I was like, oh, could this be a situation where the progress kind of goes stale? Not at all. Jer Brennan came in. It was like Mickey had never left. And now when you look at the under-20 success, it's clear that there's a real conveyor belt of talent coming through there. Tyg McDonald's the main one that I'm looking at as He's a savage
He's
player.
so good, savage. Like he's such a good player, and he's such a good club man. And he's been through a lot, and he's just put himself out there. He's one of the definitely ones to watch. I think it's great. I think if anyone had said this to me 5 or 6 years ago, before even Mickey Hart was announced, before COVID, like I would have been going to the games in Division 4. We were watching them on TV, like driving down the country, getting bed out the gate, to say now that we're Leinster champions, under 20 Leinster champions, All Ireland finalists for the under-20s. The minors just came up short, which was such a pity, but still an unbelievable season. Like, it's so good. And like you said, I'll never forget the day that we heard that Mickey Hart was leaving. It's like, I can still feel in the pit of my stomach. But the lads just, our first cup 2 or 3 league games were a bit rocky that year, just trying to get back into swing of things. But the lads did unbelievable. Jared Brennan had a huge boots to fill, and he stood in there and he did some job the last 2 years. So it's been great. Like you said, we could have just totally fumbled and went right back to where we started, but we stayed up, and now hopefully we're just going to continue on the up now.
That's it. No, as we love to say, and the Leinster Championship next year is going to be very, very interesting, because you've got Meath, Louth, Kildare, Dublin, I would say Westmeath and Offaly as well, all realistic, really capable of winning it. And
Absolutely.
speaking of Offaly, Faithful Podcast, aka Liam White, with the new logo as well. He says, a Seamus preview. I don't believe it. Well, you better believe it. It's All Ireland final. And I put up one with Matthew as well there last week. A dub praising Meath. We've seen it all now. We'll jump back in to the All Ireland final preview. We'll jump back in. So looking at these two. So we'll start off with Donegal. And we'll start off, and I'll give a massive shout out as well to my good friend Matthew Hurley, the Gaelic Statsman, because we're going to run through now Donegal's route to the All Ireland football final. So starting off this year, you look at the Ulster Championship, they had a very comprehensive victory over Derry in that stage, 125-115. They then beat Monaghan in the Ulster quarter-final, 23 points to 21 points. Although, remember, Grace, there was a lot of controversy in that game with regards to the hooter at the end, but Donegal got through. They then beat down 119 to 16 points in the semi-final, before beating Armagh after extra time in one of the most dramatic Ulster finals I've ever seen, 223 to 28 points. Then in the Senior Football Championship, they lost to Tyrone in round 1 in a very, very surprising flat performance from the Tyrone. Really took it to them, 217 to 20 points, that one finished. But then they bounced back-to-back wins over Cavan, very comprehensive in that one, and then beating Mayo and knocking them out of the championship in the process. Kieran Moore with that late score. Then I'll skip past that next one. They got the win there. And they Monaghan again, more comprehensively this time, 126 to 120 after shaking off a bad first half. And then they decimated Meath, 326 to 15 points. They've scored in total 13 goals and 229 points, an average of 124 a game. Conceded 6 goals and 172 points. That's an average of 116 per game. So before we talk about their key players and their scoring, what game stood out to you the most in terms of their performance level and what they're capable of?
It's so hard to pick, because I feel like in the championship, like when they started off with the loss, I think I remember saying to my dad at the start of the season, "Oh, Donegal when they do such an impressive league," I said they're going to be in the All Ireland final. And then they kind of went a bit rocky. Obviously, getting beaten by Tyrone was crazy. But I think for me, I went and I actually backed Monaghan in that game. I don't know why. I just felt like they might have been a little bit more alive. But the second half performance from Donegal, it was just like, it was unreal. Like you were just watching it on the TV. Or I was actually there, would you believe? But like, I can't explain the energy. I feel like you know this as well. Like they literally run and run and run until that hooter goes. Like there's no even stopping them. Even in the Louth game as well. Like I know we were so bad in the second half and they totally opened us up, but they just kept, their counter-attacking is insane. And I feel like Donegal are definitely a second half team. They're definitely, I feel like with them, they kind of sit back in the first quarter. They kind of evaluate what the other team's game plan is. They figure out how we're set up, how we need to set up. And then they kind of get into kind of gear just a little bit before halftime. then whatever Jim McGuinness does at halftime, it's magic. I don't know what it is. He just, whatever he says, whatever he does, the players come out and they're a totally different team in the second half. I don't know if that's like a game plan. That's the only word I can describe Jim McGuinness is the way he's presented this year has been top class. Like there's nothing is ever easy. Like there's always a complaint. There's always something gone wrong. There's always something mad. Either they have such a terrible first half and come out and blitz the second half. But for me, I think when I seen them playing against Monaghan in that game, I said they're finalists, like 110%. Like I know Meath were very impressive in their game against Galway. Galway were just flat, awfully flat. I mean, a team that's so good on paper just didn't perform this year. But yeah, that game against Monaghan definitely was a turning point for me and my coming back to my original prediction of them being in the final.
Yeah, no, that one definitely stood out to me because you were looking at Monaghan and I had the Minerals there being an upset, like Rory Beggan kicking those frees. You were like, okay, well, Beggan's not going to stop kicking them in the second half. So Donegal are going to have to really, they're going to have to break the dam going forward. And when you saw the tour de force in the second half with the goal from Michael Langan was the score that stood out to me. There was so many things there, but then different types as well. They've shown in the Meath game that they can really run up a score. They've also shown in the Armagh game that they're willing to battle until literally the last second to get over the line, and nothing is too far. The other thing that's really stood out to me throughout this campaign is their squad depth. They have so many players that could start for them. I think their squad depth, which we'll get into, I think their squad depth is stronger than Kerry's. I think they have more depth than Kerry do. I think when you look at even players like Darrow Boyle, who shot the lights out during the league, and I genuinely was thinking this guy is not only going to start for Donegal, but he's going to be one of their key operators because he was so good at kicking the 2-pointers. And yet he wasn't even starting. And you're right about the players that they have that are the road runners, like players like Padder Mogan, Shane O'Donnell, like Kieran these Thompson, guys, Brian McHugh as well, Thompson, like these guys cover every blade of grass on that field. And they are in defence and attack. I think Owen Bon Gallagher, Finbar Rorty is another one that they cover every blade. And Donegal are so dangerous as well because when we bring it to their scorers, for Kerry, there's the obvious threats. For Donegal, they tend to all chip in. While you can look at, Murphy, you can look at Gallen, but if you take your eye off Conor O'Donnell, he'll do damage. If you take your eye off Kieran Thompson, he'll do damage. Whereas for Kerry, it is David Clifford, Shawnee O'Shea. And Paddy definitely needs to be watched because he's the link man. But the finishes are usually the same. And for Donegal, they're willing to take off Michael Murphy. They're willing to bring on then Paddy McBrearty. They're willing to take off Gallen. So that's a key difference between the teams. And we'll bring it then to the players who have been making the difference. So no surprise there who's at the top. Michael Murphy with 44 points. Conor O'Donnell, as I was mentioning, he tends to go under the radar. He scored 321 so far this year. Michael Langan with 125. Patrick McBrearty at 123, Kieran Thompson at 122, and then, as you can see down below, Oisin Gallen, Darrow Boyle, Padder Mogan, Kieran Moore, Shane O'Donnell, Finbar Rorty as well with a decent tally. Even players there, like I'm looking down there, Jamie Brennan with 5, but I think we both agree a player who could make a difference if he was called upon. They have a lot of threats there, Donegal.
Huge. Like even Michael Langan made from midfield, like what was the score? 125. Like insane. Like, Padder Mogan, number 4 is what he's wore in the last couple of days. 14 points. Like your number 4 is scoring 14 points over a championship. Like that is unheard of, but it's such I think their score base is huge, and you can see that from their list and how high they've scored. Like even McBrearty to come on and score and have 123 and he's not even starting in most of the game, he's coming on as a sub, is huge. Obviously Michael Murphy, he's the king of Donegal. He gets a standing ovation every time he comes off. He's brilliant. He went away, changed the rules and came back, and now he's doing unreal, which is class. But yeah, their squad depth is insane. Like I said about Darrow Boyle, like what a player. And then just to come on and be as good as he was, and he's not even starting, it's crazy. I feel like Oisin Gallen's probably the only one that has been I'm not going to say hit and miss, but he's so much potential that I feel like sometimes on the big days he doesn't actually perform as well as his potential is, whereas you have the likes of Pather Mogan, you have Kieran Thompson, you know, on the days that he's needed Kieran Thompson, I feel he pops out these 2-pointers from like crazy places on the field. You're like, oh, you nearly forgot that he was even capable of that. Michael Murphy as well, he's just, I also was going to say as well, like, I feel like I thought at one stage that Donegal were awfully reliant on Michael Murphy. I feel like in that Monaghan game, looking back on it when you rewatched it, nearly everything went through Michael Murphy. And it was a thing where I remember I was saying it to myself, even I was kind of like, if something happens to Michael Murphy, their game plan's out the window, like totally out the window. And then all of a sudden the next game, it wasn't even a thing of him being as involved as the game before. So they don't have the one set game plan. Every time they come out, their game plan is different, which I think is what you need in the games these years, like this year, sorry.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And with Michael Murphy, look, I was at the semi-final last year between Donegal and Galway, and I was sitting there watching it, and I remember the game was in the melting pot with 20 minutes to go. And I remember thinking, God, if Donegal had Murphy to bring on now, he would make such a huge difference in getting them over the line. And then when he came back this year, I thought, and I still think that that was the idea. I still think that they were going to bring him in the second half to make an impact. But I bet you he was dominating training sessions. I bet you he was still winning kickouts and overleaping the likes of Jason McGee and everything like that, to the point where then they were like, okay, he's still the king. He's still the guy, and he's still our best ball winner and still our best link man. So we're going to go through him. And if you're fit enough and if you're good enough, well, then it doesn't really matter, you know, if you're 37 or 36, like, you're still the guy to go through. And they're here for the here and now. They're not building for the future or anything like that. Like, they're cashing in on the team that they have now. And for Jim, it would be absolutely incredible. I mean, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Peter has made that point. He says, be some story for Michael Murphy, retires, pundit duties, returns, and if they win a second All-Ireland, wouldn't see it on Netflix. Interestingly enough, with TG Carr, I interviewed Michael at the FRC New Rules thing. I interviewed Jim Gavin, James Horan, and Colin Collins, and whoever was involved in the panel, and Michael Murphy was obviously one of those. And I asked Michael Murphy in one of the questions, the interview is up on YouTube, I asked him, what rule would you like, you know, if you were still playing? And he said definitely the kicking outside the arc would be the one that he would have loved. And you look at how he's played, I mean, he's played pretty well with that arc, and definitely what a story it would be for him as well if he retires. Because when you're talking about icons, I mean, Michael Murphy is Donegal GAA and has been since he came along.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I mean, the last games, I've been at most of the games that are in Croke Park this year with my job, and I would be at them anyways. Standing ovation every time. Like, even in the Louth game up in Ballybuffet was our last home game, he came off a good bit towards the end and total standing ovation, walked around the whole side of the pitch to get back over the dressing rooms, and it just was like a Mexican wave. Like, the whole place just stood up for him. And it was the same in Croke Park last week when he was taken off against Meath. He's just, and isn't it unreal for counties to have players like that are so influential. Now, I do believe that there is this saying of he is protected. I'm not here to diss referees or anything like that, but I do think that very clever, and you have to be like that. You have to be clever. Like, people say David Clifford is protected very well, whereas you have the likes of Aidan O'Shea who gets pulled and dragged around the floor and not a thing is being said. So I think there's a lot of things. I think, you know, these players, like, it's their life. Like, this is not professional football. This is pure and utter passion, and that's the only way you can describe it. And for someone like him to come back after retiring and totally removing himself from that whole mindset of a county structure, to then change his mind and change his family situation and his circumstances, to come back and have run the risk of, like, will I even be able to keep up, or will I even be able to be good enough to fight for a spot on the team, to then being their top scorer and now like returning like better than ever before. It's an unreal story. It is great. And as much as people want to give out about him and want to put him down, like, it's insane. Like, it's absolutely incredible. Like, he's just a force to be reckoned with. Like, it's brilliant.
He's a true generational player, and he has
Yeah.
been ever since he came in. And I remember watching the Armagh game when he came on, and he just immediately scored. And I was like, "Holy shit, we're already up and running here!" Like this guy taking back to it like a duck to water. And the thing is, this is his house, and it has been since he came into the scene. And I mean, clearly he hadn't lost the yard. Clearly he'd still been training like the professional that he is, and he looked sharp the minute he came in. And for Jim as well, the sense I got with Michael Murphy as well, just the type of character that he is, the type of professional that he is that he strikes me as the type that he's either all the way out or he's all the way in.
Yeah.
And that way, when he was returning, I knew he's all in on this. You know, Jim has sold him on we're going to win an All Ireland, and that did make me quite confident in Donegal winning an All Ireland right from the beginning. I said Cork would win the hurling. Don't ask me how that went. And I said that Donegal would win the football. Now we're one game away from me getting that right. Cork, I still maintain Cork. If they didn't just turn their brain off at half time, Cork could have won the hurling. But we won't get into that.
Totally.
And
My God.
speaking of having your brain, this is very important. Very good point made by Sean here. He says, if Donegal defends zonally against Kerry like Armagh did, then Sean O'Shea will have a field day. They need to have a plan for Sean O'Shea, because what I couldn't believe in the Armagh game was how Armagh were so naive to the damage that Sean O'Shea could do. Like, they were letting him take shots from outside the arc as if he couldn't kick them, and he kicked them, multiple times. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I think the thing though was Sean O'Shea was in and out of the panel the last couple of games. He was on the panel. He wasn't playing. He was injured. So I feel like I can't think that Kieran Donaghy and Kieran McGeeney that day would have thought, oh, he's grand. Obviously everybody's main thought is David Clifford, and take him out, man mark him, whatever. You can't man mark really anymore. You can, but you're also losing a fourth player. Like, if you're 3 players back, you start man marking, you have another player gone. So when Armagh did that to Sean O'Shea, he was like, I also think that was for Armagh. That was a game that honestly could have fallen on any other county's laps, because for Sean O'Shea and David Clifford to call on their fans to come out and support them, for them to come out publicly. I mean, David Clifford is probably the most doesn't get involved in media or nothing, to come out and publicly say that, to try and get people behind them. And you could even see the passion in Sean O'Shea after that game. They came out for blood that day, and I feel like Armagh just didn't take on board the fact that Sean O'Shea, maybe the last 3 or 4 games was 60%. They weren't expecting him to come back 100%, and he just stole the show. But if he didn't come back 60 or 70%, who knows what would have happened that day. But like you said, they can't do what Armagh did, but I think Donegal will be too. There's been some games since then that Sean O'Shea has still shot the lights out, that they'll have that game plan. But how can you man mark 2 of your main players?
Yeah.
So I think Donegal's main thing on Sunday will be how we're going to control David Clifford and Sean O'Shea in a way that we're not losing out on our players, like the likes of Pather Mogan and then boys that are full backs, but always track forward and are always in the running. It's going to be very interesting. I think that's the thing that I'm really excited about, because you can't ultra defend, which Donegal probably would have done in the past. You have to leave the 3 boys back, but you also need to man mark. So it's very exciting. I hope David Clifford doesn't, I hate the word bottle it, but I really hope it's a shootout. I really hope it's a thing where both sides, every player is on game and they're shooting the lights out, and it's who can actually get that extra 1 or 2 shots out to win the game. Like, obviously when Dublin were playing, or Kerry were playing Dublin bet them, David Clifford I didn't even know he was on the pitch at one stage. And that's what the whole narrative of, it wasn't even Dublin winning. The whole narrative was, or David Clifford didn't even turn up. And it's like, if you have that on Sunday, it will take away from such an unbelievable game that could be. So I feel like that's what a lot of people are waiting for. Is he going to show up after scoring that 853 so far this championship? It'll be interesting to see what way Donegal manage that kind of defensive structure.
Oh yeah, I agree. And I think I'd throw it back to 2022 in terms of a game that I would want to see, because what we saw that day was Clifford down one end, Shane Walsh down the other, and an exhibition from the two of them in terms of attacking play, and both of them carried their team on their back. And I remember I was up for Galway that day. Surprise, surprise, the dub wasn't up. But genuinely, like, I remember that day realizing just how good Clifford was, because he wouldn't let it go. He was not going to be denied that day. And I felt like in 2023, I felt like he was just tired. He needed the break, because you have to look at it. And I've never fully understood the Kerry system of playing for the regional teams. That means that Clifford was playing for Fossa, then he was playing for East Kerry, then he was playing for Kerry, and each year would go long into the end of the championship.
Yeah,
And
because
then
Fossa won that year as well, so then they went on.
Yeah, he looked knackered, and then you have to factor in, it's definitely a sad note, but you have to factor in the stuff that had happened to him in his personal life, losing his mom. Yeah. I think what age was he? 24? Like, I'm 24. If my mom was gone, I wouldn't be able to even think about playing in an All-Ireland final. So, yeah. And then not only did he have to play, but he was seen as that he had to carry the team, that he had to be the leading light. And I think if he didn't have his best day, he still set up the goal. I think he's a generational one, and this year he looks to have refound himself. We have a prediction here from Liam. He says, I think the way Kerry have been ruthless this season and the form that David is in, Kerry will have enough, but I'd equally be happy for Donegal if Michael Murphy won. Peter says Jimmy appeared on the Hell for Leather doc, which is unreal, by the way. Yeah, absolutely is. So Jimmy gave a very special insight into Donegal and what it means to be from there. He gave a spine-tingling recall to the 2012 final. Liam says Shawnee and Paddy will need to be watched at all times. If not, then it could be tricky for Donegal, but Jimmy knows that too well. But then again, you nearly need 2 or even 3 to mark David. The reality is you're not going to keep David scoreless. You're not going to keep him to 2 or 3 points. You're just going to have to, in my opinion, outscore them. And I think when people look at Jim McGuinness as a manager, a lot of people are very quick to go, well, Jimmy's only a defensive coach. I disagree with that. Genuinely disagree with that. I think he just looks at the board and he goes, how can I win this game? And that's all he does. If he has a better attack than you, I think he'll play attacking football. I think he looked at Dublin in that notorious game of 2011, because Pat Gilroy was interviewed after that game. And interestingly, he wasn't critical of it at all. He goes, we just kicked, because the game before, he said they just kicked 22 points against Tyrone in the quarterfinal. So Pat Gilroy goes, well, why would you have left a lot of space for Brogan and Connolly, the form that they were in? He said he did what he had to do to win, and it nearly worked for them. And that was a Donegal team that were ranked number 19 before that season began, and he nearly got them to an All-Ireland final. He does what he needs to do to win, and he doesn't give a shit what anyone thinks.
Nope.
And when you're talking about him, he's done a few tricks, and we'll analyze the manager as well. He's done a few tricks this year. He's done a few of the Jim McGuinness classics, the building a siege mentality, us against the world.
Absolutely.
Has that worked, in your opinion? Do you think that he's created the same atmosphere of the 2012 team?
100%. He is like magic with what he's doing. We talk about Michael Murphy being the king of Donegal. I've never, and I don't think in what I can remember, but correct me if I'm wrong, a county who went from being unbelievable to losing their manager to literally being nearly relegated, not even getting anywhere in the championship, for said manager to be begged on his knees to come back. In his first year back, All-Ireland semi-final, his second year back, he gets Michael Murphy back to his best.
Back-to-back Ulsters as well.
And they're in back-to-back, yes, I forgot about that, back-to-back Ulsters. And now they're in an All-Ireland final and they could potentially win it. Like, he is a mastermind. I'd love to, should be like a study done on him, on how insane he is. Even coming out about the accommodation and saying in the press, he's not talking about his players. He's not talking about the team. He wasn't talking about the game. He was pinpointing something else. And all of Twitter, or X or whatever you call it, blew up about him saying this. And everyone's talking about him and the accommodation. Then it was something else about them traveling too long. Then it was the press release that he didn't. He had no say on that about too many games being played. And then when he won, that wasn't to do with us. He runs Donegal through and through. And I just think him coming back, like I said, I wouldn't begrudge either side winning. I do think as well as Jack O'Connor, like he's such a stalwart in Kerry. Like he's gotten them players to such a level. He's changed his game plan so many times. I think either manager, and they have I think what I love about it is that they have so much rivalry between each other.
Mm-hmm.
That makes it even more exciting. And I know every manager has rivalries, but this one, just because of the last final and how they've both left and come back, how that's going to plan out. But yeah, Jim McGuinness he's a mastermind. I think he's a psychologist. I heard that during the week. So I mean, like, he's a psychologist in his day job and on the field. But yeah, he's class. He's so good. To be able to instill that hope and belief in them players, to be like, come from where they were to bring them back to here now, it's class.
Oh, it's unreal. Peter says here, remember the old adage, Jimmy wins in year 2. I mean, you look at the similarities between his first term and his second term is outrageous. When he took them over in 2011, they were in Division 2. He got them promoted, winning the Division 2 title. Then he also won the Ulster title before falling short narrowly in a semi-final, losing by 2 points. His second year in 2012, they won the Ulster Championship, stayed in Division 1, won the Ulster Championship, and then won the All-Ireland. This year, they've won the Ulster Championship, stayed in Division 1, and now they're in the All-Ireland final. And they beat a Jack O'Connor Kerry team along the way in doing that. There are so many signs that point to this being potentially a repeat of 2012. We are going. Yes, Sean here says the culture around Jim McGuinness is something else. As someone who isn't a fan of Donegal, I don't think there's been a manager who's had such an influence on a county. And I think when you look at Jim, the thing that is very clear is the players go to war for him because he goes to war for them.
Yeah.
Like what you were pointing out about the accommodation, how he came out swinging about that. It's in his book as well about how when a game went to extra time and the players were told to go back into the dressing room, then they were told to go out. And he said, no, we'll come out when we're ready to come out, when the players are ready to come out. He hates even the inch of an idea that they're being pushed around or messed with. And when you know that you have a manager who will go to war for you like that, it's much easier for the players then to go to war for them. And when you look at how the Donegal players speak about Jim McGuinness, how they love Jim McGuinness, Michael Murphy would not have come back if Jim McGuinness was not the manager. You cannot change my mind on that.
No.
So, yeah, it's unreal the connection he has with them.
Yeah.
Well, we will jump in then next. Kerry. We'll talk about Kerry next. So Kerry, their route to the showpiece event. The Munster Senior Football Championship for Kerry, if we look at it here. So, starting off in Munster, Kerry had a rocky enough start to Munster. Cork gave them an awful fright. It went to extra time, but Kerry won by 3-21 to Cork's 125. And then in the final, they hit 4 goals and 20 points to Clare's 21 points to become Munster champions. In the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship then, very, very comprehensive victories in their first 2 games. 318 to 17 points against Roscommon, 128 to 20 points against Cork, before Meath completely undid them in the final game, beating them 122 to 16 points, meaning that Kerry would not top the group. Kerry responded to this with an outrageous display against Cavan. David Clifford hit a hat-trick in that game, 320 to 117, and then came their peak. 32 points to 121, they beat Armagh, and 120 to 17 points, they beat Tyrone. They've scored 15 goals and 175 points, an average of 222 per game, and conceded 4 goals and 160 points, an average of 119 per game. Grace, I said it on the last pod that this year for Kerry, for me, ironically enough, because it's the last All-Ireland he won with Kerry before 2022, I should say, sorry. Jack O'Connor won it in 2009. And if you remember about that year, Kerry crept into the quarterfinal stage. Then they were drawn against Dublin. And everyone ripped them off. Like everyone said, not only were Kerry going to lose, but Dublin were going to batter them. In reality, Colin Cooper had a field day that day. Kerry annihilated Dublin. And all of a sudden, everyone woke up to how good Kerry were, and they went on to win the All Ireland that year. Is there similarities to that year and this year?
It's just it's so strange. Like you said earlier, like, you know, with Kerry, of how much talent that they have and how good of a squad and young squad that they have, even though I feel like a lot of these players have been around for a couple of years, but they're still so young that it's so similar to what happened in 2009. And yes, people say that they have an easy route and they always have an easy route. But I personally don't think that easy routes are any good. I just do think that Kerry the last 2 years have fallen short of this easy route because they weren't challenged as per se, or they didn't have to change their tactics, or it wasn't like a thing where they were down at half time and they had to go in and change it to come out at second half. It's very hard to call. I think obviously the display that they had, I don't know. I'm so conflicted about Kerry. I would love to see them just come out and be 100% the team that they are on paper.
Yeah, Peter makes a great point here. He says Kerry had been wounded and hurt by the media criticism. I mean, I was shocked how much Jack O'Connor was getting hounded. I mean, this is a legend of Kerry GAA, and I mean, Parkinson said it on his pod that like there's a place for a type. Like, I don't really think there is. I hate when people are so personal with their criticism. You talk about the performances, talk about. Well, I liked it when Jack kind of threw it back and said, well, what have you done for Kerry football? What teams have you coached? What players have you coached? What, you know, All Irelands have you won? What Munsters have you won with this Kerry team? And I was like, yeah, fair play to you, because, you know, people, easy to be armchair critics and everything like that. But when you're talking about someone who has the right to manage this Kerry team, Jack O'Connor, for sure, is definitely up there. I mean, and it's not like Jack doesn't have them dining at the top table. Consistently in Division 1, consistently winning Munsters and getting to the Final Four. There are a few pieces of the puzzle away the last 2 years. That All-Ireland final against Dublin 2023. Dublin, yeah, in my opinion, were the better team, but you play that game again, there are things that happen in that game that could have gone differently. I thought at one stage James McCarthy was lucky he didn't get a second yellow, and if he had got that, well, now we've got a different game on our hands, and things like that are different. So I really, really believe Kerry this season getting that fire under them before the Armagh game, and it was clear, especially with Seanie O'Shea's performance, which we'll jump into when we're talking about players. But Joe O'Connor has been absolutely amazing this year in midfield. David has been unreal. Paddy is so important, but Seanie O'Shea as well could be the wild card coming into this final, because he scored 12 points against Armagh and he was so crucial in them getting over the line in that game. And to borrow a phrase from The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, I think it was clear Seanie took it personal. Like, he played that game like he was pissed off. Like, he was like, oh, you think we're a one-man team? Yeah, let me show you. So much for a one-man 100%. Team. I think David scored 7 points. So that's 24 points or 25 points that came from the boot of players that weren't David Clifford that day against the All-Ireland champions. So much for a one-man team. And the thing is with David is it's kind of a catch-22, because, yeah, they do put a lot of ball in his hands, but he's probably the best player in the country. So why would you not put the ball in his hands?
Yeah. It's mad, because I feel like for a team, I feel like the negativity and the comments and all that comes for Kerry is nearly like people are looking at Kerry like they look at Dublin. Like, Dublin are back-to-back 5 in a row All-Ireland champions, like incredible, whatever, 12 or Leinster champions titles in a row. Kerry have 2 All-Irelands in the last decade or so, is it? I can't do my quick math in my head. So, like, do you know what I mean? And it's like, but yet every time that they are beaten by like a team that's still in Division 1, but they're not one of the good Division 1 teams, or like they got an easy draw. Like, I think they only played a lot of Division 2 teams in the group stages, and people were saying, oh, like they're throwing off the course, that they're no good. It's very hard, because it's like they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. And it's like they played so well against Armagh. Obviously, everybody thought that Armagh were in All-Ireland champions, were going to beat them. Kerry are terrible. They're not at the races this year at all. What are we going to do? And the next thing was they came out and they won, and it was unbelievable. But people still weren't like, that was an unbelievable performance for Kerry. Like, oh, but like they should have won. Like they should be winning them games. Like that's just Kerry. And you're looking at it like, but what way is it supposed to be? So I think it's very personal for Kerry this year. I do think like a lot of them lads, they're not. The other way, there's some counties where players are very involved in media and very involved in, getting their team out there, talking about their county, being online, doing campaigns and all. I think Kerry's one of the only counties that are in such limelight that their players are very like modest. They don't do all these big collabs and stuff like that. And they just genuinely just love the game, and they just play the game for Kerry and for the jersey that they're wearing. And I feel like they get so much criticism for that. But it's like they haven't won a lot of All-Irelands in this decade of players. Like I know they have won the most All-Ireland titles like over all the years, which was a decade or two before now. They get a lot of criticism, and I think it's a thing where they just want to stand up and show people like this is who we are, and we are the Kerry that are unreal, and they deserve it. And to have them caliber players on your team working well, like even Paddy Clifford, I think, did he make his debut, am I right in saying, in 2022? 2020?
Yeah, I think it was 2020. I think it was 2020.
Yeah,
he wasn't around in 2019.
Wasn't anywhere. Like, and then he comes on, and now it's like you could see him one of the two of the games that he was missing. You could feel him missed on the pitch, because even the way he links, or I thought it was, and I know it's so special when you're playing with brothers, and I just think there's just something so special about the Cliffords, and there's a lot of brothers playing on county teams and stuff, and obviously what they've went through the last couple of years, and there's a lot of players in the same boat. But I even seen a passage of play in Meath, and I know, or not Meath, sorry, where Paddy had guided David the whole way up the field and told him where to go, where he was going to put the ball, and then David put it over the bar. It was like this telepathic brother thing, and it was like Paddy does that for so many players in that team. He's like such, like you say, like a link player. People are only catching on to it in the last 12 months. He's been so good at that. And I think he was in the wrong role maybe for a year or two, but even seeing that and how he was able to, I remember watching, it was over by the Cusack stand, he guided them the whole way, and whatever way he did with his hand movements, he's just such an influential player. And I feel like they've all been hurt by, you can obviously mask it so much and you can ignore it, like you're told to, like, it's just the press, it's just the fans, like blah, blah, blah. I even say they felt at games, because I know there was a lot of things came out about attendances at Munster games, at the Munster Championship, and I know obviously it was like the Leinster Championship, it is like the old Leinster Championship, and people not going to it, but I think that 100% makes a huge difference on if you're still playing for your fans. Like, you're not going to be playing for yourself, you're playing for your families, you're playing for the kids, you're playing for your club, you're playing for your county. So I do think Kerry have been very hurt by all of that. And I think that could just be the edge on Sunday that could just get them over the line of how the emotion is behind Kerry this year compared to any other year.
Yeah, I do think definitely the 2009 example for me is very apparent, because it has that similar feeling of being written off by everybody and kind of trying to remind them, like, I think, what was it? Adesanya, one of my favorite UFC fighters, kept using this line, you must have forgot, or y'all must have forgot, like, we're the best type. And I feel like Kerry, if this is a year where they win, I feel like it's a real I told you so type, where you should have never doubted us, like that type. And if they can get over the line, it's incredible. And the thing is, look, when Jim McGuinness got them to the final in 2014, I thought it was a sure thing they were going to win, because I remember being so confident. I know I was 13 in 2014, but I was so confident that we were going to win the All-Ireland that year. I really thought we were unstoppable, and Donegal completely caught us cold in that semi-final. Ryan McHugh scored 2 goals, I remember, and I was so confident that they would win that All-Ireland final against Kerry, and Kerry just caught them. The early goal from Gainey, the next one from Donaghy, and then it was all done. And I think Donegal still to this day look back on that as a final that they left behind them. I still strongly believe that. Gaelic Guy here says hopefully it'll be a thriller, but I think Kerry's attacking quality should put the Kingdom over the line. Also, Kerry under Jack O'Connor always do league and championship doubles. Donegal 119, Kerry 27 points. That's a very good point about the omens. We were talking about the ones in Donegal's favour. What about the ones in Kerry's favour? We'll talk then about the players that have been doing the damage. No surprise. Who's top? David Clifford, as you're saying, with 853. Absolutely ridiculous. Sean O'Shea with 144, Paul Gainey with 210, Dylan Gainey with 13 points, Joe O'Connor with 17. Now, to analyze the point that I made earlier, you look here, the drop off from Clifford and Shawnee O'Shea, maybe Paul Gainey as well, down to maybe 7th place with Paddy with 7 points. Compare that to Donegal, Murphy up here, and then you've got Darrow Boyle still in 7th place with a goal and 15, compared to 7th place for Kerry, Paddy with 7 points.
Yeah.
So Kerry have the more obvious threats. Donegal have the more well-rounded threats, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think it's obvious who Donegal need to man mark. It's obvious who Donegal need to stop. And Paddy, for me, as well, is included in that list. You were talking about how important Paddy is. Paddy, for me, I've always said, if you want to stop David, you have to stop Paddy, because you have to reduce the quality of ball that goes into David. Because if you let ball go into David that heavily favours him, once the ball's in his hands, it's too late. You have to stop the ball getting into his hands. And Paddy stopping him is a really, really good way to do that. So I think Donegal are going to have to pick him up. And we'll talk about next, probably my favourite section of the preview. We'll talk now about matchups. So who do you think? Because we'll talk about key matchups there. I was talking about David Clifford, the obvious one, 853. A lot of people are saying it's going to be Brendan McCole that will pick him up. Is that what you would think, or is there a wild card there that you think might go on him?
Like, I think the main thing for David Clifford is you have to have somebody that's fitter than him. You have someone that's going to be. I think with David, you can't, once he gets that ball, he has that ball. So you need someone that's going to be out in front of him. Obviously, I know that's the technical all the time. Now, it's not always, because some defenders kind of just sit back, let them win the ball, and then defend. I honestly think that you need someone all the time competing when that ball has been kicked into David Clifford, someone that's going to be at his fitness, at his technical ability to try and not let him get that ball. I think that's probably the most obvious match. I can't really see Jim McGuinness taking one of the likes of the Padder Mogans, or, them lads that are like the Darrow Breels that are really fit and they're runners, to take them totally out of play just to mark David Clifford, because that could cause other impact. But then again, it's like, if you were to do that with David, will they create that much? Is there somebody else out there that can pick up the loss of a Darrow Breel or a Padder Mogan, as in running wise? I think that's going to be the most interesting one of the weekend matchups.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good point. I think when you're talking Paddy, I think Paddy's a key when you have to put someone on him again who's fit enough to keep up with him, comfortable enough to drop into the full forward line as well.
Yeah.
And comfortable enough to put Paddy on the back foot, make him think about going backwards. I think that man is Finbar Rorty. I know he's only 18, but by God, that fella is another Michael Murphy type man-child. Like, he's ridiculous. He's the guy that Jim got in trouble for playing when he was 17 on the senior team. He is an absolute. He's such a talent. He's a shoe-in. He is a shoe-in for Young Footballer of the Year, for sure.
100. After getting, man of the match as well, in the last game, totally taking Jordan Morris out of it. But yeah, I think, like I said to you, it's going to be very, very hard to get somebody as technical to stop David Clifford. But like you said, Paddy Clifford is David Clifford's link man. So do you prioritize tracking Paddy Clifford, or do you prioritize, the person being in front of David the whole time? David's not going to track too far. He's going to stay in his little fall forward 3v3 type vibe, whereas Paddy Clifford could be in the goals, or he could be in defence, or he could be shooting points. So I think that's the main matchup for them on who they're going to put on him. But yeah, Finbar Rorty, 18 years of age, like, that is incredible.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think I'd put Finbar on Paddy, and I
Yeah.
would put Brendan McCall on David.
Right.
Then Shawnee, I would put Owen Bon Gallagher on him. I think it's very hard to predict who's going to
Very
start.
hard.
Very hard
So
to predict. Because let's be honest, even if the teams are released when you're watching this, if you think that Jim isn't going to make a late change, yeah, out
yeah.
of your mind. It's
And
very,
even the
very,
teams, yeah,
yeah,
and even the teams are released are never the teams that are on the day. So we'll have a
no,
few
for sure.
exceptions granted, But yeah. Well, that's I
Absolutely.
know. Yeah.
Talking about matchups as well, Sean makes a great point here. He says the midfield battle with O'Connor, Langan, O'Brien, and McFadden is what I am looking forward to. I mean, the two teams have such strong inside forward lines with Gallen and Murphy and McBrearty coming in off the bench on one side, and then with David, Paddy, Shawnee, O'Shea on the other side. So the midfield battle is so important because you want to get that good quality ball into your forward line. And if you can get midfield dominance, you're a long, long way to doing that.
Yeah.
Whose midfield would you rather have going into this game? Would you rather have Kerry's or would you rather have Donegal's?
I personally think if I could have one from each, that'd be great.
If I take one from each, I'd go Joe O'Connor,
One from
Michael
each.
Langan.
That was what
Yeah.
I was going to say. I personally think I go with Donegal's midfield. I just think the contribution Michael Langan has now. I have to say, Joe O'Connor's been off the charts this season. He's been absolutely incredible, and rightly so. Getting man of the match in the last game, I thought it was brilliant. But I do think Michael Langan, like 125 from midfield, like that screamer of a goal. Yeah, I think Donegal's midfield would be a little bit more my type of play if you can get from what they've done, but you couldn't begrudge Joe O'Connor though either. So if I can choose, I'll take one of each.
The politician's answer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I would agree with you that I'd probably take one from each, which makes it a tie, but I'd shade it to I'd rather have Donegal's middle because of the factor that Michael Murphy will drop in there. And when the man child drops in, he's going to hoover up the kickouts and everything like that. So I'd probably shade it to him. Now going forward and picking Donegal and who would pick that up from Kerry, who goes on Michael Murphy? Because it has to be someone who's comfortable around the middle because Murphy will be there. Or will they swap it? And will they have maybe, I don't know, Jason Foley picking him up when he's in the inside forward line? And I don't know, maybe a Tyg Morley could be a late starter to pick him up around the middle, or Mark O'Shea could come in late to pick him up around the middle. Like, what's the best plan for someone like Murphy?
Like, it's a funny one because like part of me is thinking like imagine like a Paddy Clifford and Michael Murphy like matchup because both of them are not equally, but obviously Michael Murphy is a little bit stronger and will have more scoring ability than Paddy Clifford. But at the same time, they're both the player that they could be full forward, they could be in midfield, they could be back defending at one stage, they could be in the net. They're both very similar. They both have a lot of link and play for their teams. I don't think they're going to be put on each other. But for me, it's like they both have very similar roles on each side. So it's like trying to pick the perfect person that's going to go on them that you're not taking them out of the game. It's just so like it's like I know your man is a Mike Mihal Burns that came on for Kerry. Like he was so good. Like his impact off the bench, and I feel like I think the benches. Even I know we're looking at matchups. The benches on this day to keep the likes of David Clifford and Shawnee O'Shea at bay and Michael Murphy and the Oisin Gallons at bay, they're going to need help. Like whoever goes on them two lads at the start when the ball is dropped in, they're not going to be the same lads that are on them for the 70 minutes because it's going to be such a huge dominance of power and leadership and energy to keep on each side. So I feel like the subs in that case are going to be monumental for that final quarter in the game of keeping them lads at bay.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. The is a really, really good point as well. I think one of the key things is to look at is the third quarter. I mean, we've seen with Kerry and Donegal now over the course of the year that they tend to smash pretty hard at that third quarter. Like you look at Kerry in back-to-back games now in the third quarter have blown Armagh away and blown Tyrone away. And when it happens in back-to-back games, it's not a coincidence. Clearly, there's something that they're doing at halftime. There's changes that they're making. They push right up on the Armagh kick out and they punish them every single time. They punish Tyrone's kick out mishaps as well in the second half. And their shooting efficiency in the last two games, especially in that third quarter, has been frightening, to be honest. Donegal as well in the second half completely took control of the game against Monaghan in the quarterfinal in that third quarter. And they blew me the way in the third quarter in the semi-final. So that third quarter is going to be one of the most important periods of the game because both teams are going to try do what they do. And whoever can get supremacy, because I think it's going to be neck and neck at halftime. I think there's no way they're not level or 1 or 2 points in it. That third quarter is vital.
Vital. And it's a thing where like you don't, I have said it so many times this year, going in 6 or 5 or 6 or 7 points up at halftime is probably very close to the worst thing that can happen to you in a game. It's just ask Core, just ask Monaghan, just ask like there's so many teams that this has happened to this year where they went in so far ahead and then I also say I think this is such a key thing as well. Your halftime speech, if you're going in on a team and you're up by 6 points, your manager's speech is going to be here and it's like keep going, take them out of it, da 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 da. If you go in 6 points under, it's going to be like take them out of it. He's going to be nearly ripping their shorts off them and slapping them across the jaws, being like, come on, like, what is that? That has so much power in itself than going in being like, right, lads, we need to keep going. What we're doing is right. And I think that that's the thing about the rules nowadays is that, like, being up so much. And I also think as well is that's something that Donegal have been very clever with. And I don't know if it's clever or it's just they've been slow to start first halves. They've never went in, unless it's a very weak team, that far ahead and lost the game. They've never. They've either been down at halftime or they've been level. And then they come out on the win because they absolutely power through because their halftime talks are very different. I think that's a big thing when it comes to these new rules. You're better off being 1 or 2 points, but going in 6 or 7 points, you're screwed.
Yeah, man, the mindset there is crucial. I think Donegal would be slightly better suited to it. I think their play is more controlled. They tend to slow it down. Like I was watching it against me, I was like, Jesus, they're like a UFC. If I love UFC, but it's like in the UFC, like a wrestler, like someone that just holds them, controls them. They weren't letting me play that fast and loose game. It was very controlled. And it's the type of thing that Jim McGuinness knows. Like Jim will rig the game so that he will win. He makes you play. And one quote that Jack O'Connor said in the Jimmy's Winning Matches doc about that Donegal team, he said the best thing that they had was that they made teams play on their terms.
Yeah.
And if you look at this year, I think Jim has done a lot of that as well. Peter has given me a nice lead on to my prediction. He says, gonna call a draw. And after extra time, be back to do it all over again. So I'm not going for a draw after extra time, but I am going for it to be level at full time. And this is bringing us nicely onto the prediction stage. So I think it's going to be level at full time. That's my first. I think we're going to have a clutch moment, either from David or from Murphy or from Gallon or from Shawnee. We're going to have a clutch score to send the game to extra time. And I think then it's going to come down to the depth, the squad depth. And you were talking about it earlier. Kerry have had huge impact off the bench from the likes of Michal Burns, Killian Spillane. Donegal have had huge impact off the bench from the likes of Darragh O'Boyle, Kylan McGonigal, Patrick McBurty.
Yeah.
I think in that extra time period, my prediction, I think Donegal will shade it by a point after extra time. I think if you look at the Armagh game, that was a real indication of just how far Donegal can go. Because Armagh are the All-Ireland, they're All-Ireland champions for one more day only or everything like that.
3 more days.
but Armagh, the All-Ireland champions, and Donegal went to the absolute final bell with them and had that inch more to get over the line for an Ulster title. And you know how bad Armagh want that Ulster title. And Donegal just wanted it more. I shaded to Donegal after extra time. What's your prediction?
Oh, I hate this question because I'm just so torn because I have an argument for each side that I want them both to win. And I know that sounds ridiculous because that's not even...
I said Donegal at the beginning of the year. Right, like in January I said Donegal, so I want Donegal to win for that.
I'm gonna go. And I actually, we all had we had a GA gang meeting in work today for our projects for the last week of GA County for the year, and we all had our predictions. And I said Donegal. As much as I have to say, I'd love to see them, that Kerry team, winning. I do think that they will win in All Ireland in the next 2 or 3 years. If it's not on Sunday, it will be next year or the year after. But I have to say that I would love it to be a draw at full time like yourself. And I do think Donegal have they want and they have the drive and the experience to win in extra time. So I'm gonna put it I'm gonna say Donegal are going to be lifting Sam Maguire on Sunday.
Okay, so we're both in agreement. Very interesting. Peter says 12 all at halftime. Sean says, I think Kerry will have the firepower to get the job done. But if it goes to extra time, I would back Donegal because of their bench. Brian also agrees, says Donegal after extra time and they win it. The running game and bench will tip the balance in their favour. Peter says, Jimmy's winning matches version 3 will be released if they win. I mean, it's just going to be an amazing final. And the honest truth is that if you say Kerry, I can fully understand why you're picking Kerry to win. I fully understand it. It's going to be an absolutely sensational final. But that is the predictions, and we'll be back here on Sunday at 8 p.m. for a weekend review where I can either see that I got it spot on or I got it completely wrong again. At halftime before the final last week, I was feeling pretty damn smug about picking Cork to win by 3. They were 6 ahead. I was saying, Tipper are going to stage a little comeback and Cork will hold off and they'll win by 3. I was so confident that was right, but you can never, ever, ever be sure. And even then in the championship this season, we had Tyrone will go away to Donegal and beat them, and I picked Tyrone to be dark horses for the All-Ireland. They go and beat Donegal away, and I was thinking, I know why I picked them. I like Tyrone now. And then they were shite against Mayo, and I was like, what the...
Awful.
We've had so many teams like that you like them, and then they produce a
why
shite.
Did I give you that? Why did I give you that?
Yeah, Galway's another example. It was liking Galway so much, and then they just bow out with a whimper. And Dublin as well. Dublin go away to Galway, beat them, and then had a very good performance against Derry, and then against Tyrone, we just did nothing, and it's just very, very confusing. So very, very interesting. Brian says, should David Clifford score the lights out with Shawnee, they definitely win. I think Donegal, this is my reason. I think Donegal have more threats in terms. I'm not saying the Kerry are a one-man team by any stretch of the imagination. The Armagh game and Tyrone game proves that. But if you look at the scorers, there's more of a drop-off from Kerry's top 3 to the rest than there is from Donegal's top 3 to the rest. Donegal have the more even spread, more threats, and their squad depth, I think, is a little bit deeper, even though Kerry have got great impact off the bench from the likes of Burns and Spillane. But I think it's going to go to extra time. And I think if you look at the Ulster final, how badly Armagh want that Ulster title, and Donegal were willing to just go a little bit further than them and get over the line by a point. I think that's how this is going to go. And I think McGuinness and Murphy ride off into the sunset with one more Sam Maguire, one more Celtic Cross medal. I think that's how it's going to go. I could be completely wrong. If you say Kerry are going to win, I completely understand it. But that's the predictions. Great. Your debut on the show. Thank you so much for jumping on.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much to everybody that commented. Brian O'Riordan, Peter Griffin, Sean O'Malley, Jack Nulty, Gavin O'Reilly, Liam White behind the Faithful Podcast, Gaelic Guy 24. I know I am forgetting people. I didn't write it down this time. Big mistake. But thank you so much to everybody that commented. It helped make the episode really, really enjoyable. Go watch. Peter also here said great preview. Seamus Brady Grace. we have as well Aaron and Matthew are doing a preview over on Aaron's channel, Gaelic Games Fan TV. So go have a look at that as well. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, everyone that commented. We'll be back, as I said, Sunday evening at 8 p.m. for the weekend review show. Until then, enjoy the final. Take care.